All right, welcome to our latest market update. After a blistering run-up, both stocks and crypto are hitting a serious wall. So the big question is this just a little pause, or are we looking at the beginning of a real correction? Let's dive in and get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Think about it. Since mid-April, it's been an incredible ride-up, pushing both stocks and crypto to new highs. But now, that momentum is just gone. It's stalling out. And to make things even spicier, September is historically the market's worst month. So the question on everyone's mind is simple. Are we about to see a major pullback?
Okay, so let's kick things off with the U.S. stock market. You know that powerful engine that's been driving everything higher for months? Well, it is definitely starting to sputter. Across the board, it really feels like the market is running on fumes right now. And look, this isn't just a gut feeling. We've got big names, like Michael Hartnett over at Bank of America, who's been waving red flags since August. He's not mincing words. He's saying a bubble has formed and the risk of it popping gets bigger every single day.
Okay, so now let's pivot over to the crypto world, because that same nervousness is playing out in a really interesting and kind of different way. It's like a tale of two coins right now, with the big two, Bitcoin and Ethereum. One's acting surprisingly grown up, while the other, well, its big rally just slammed into a brick wall.
We've all been there, right? We remember those absolutely gut-wrenching Bitcoin crashes from previous cycles, those 30, 40, even 50% drops that happen in the blink of an eye. So the natural question is, if the whole market corrects, is Bitcoin going to do it again? Is it going to repeat history? Well, you might be surprised, but the data is telling us maybe not. Now, don't get me wrong, the fear is definitely still out there. You've got analysts pointing to September's track record and saying, hey, a sharp drop is still on the table. But when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, a very different story starts to emerge. And this is why a lot of folks are a little less worried this time around. Just look at this trend. Bitcoin's volatility has been dropping a lot for years. It's basically growing up, right? It's moving from being this wild, speculative thing to a much more mature financial asset. Now, that's not to say it can't go down. It absolutely can. But it does suggest those insane, heart-stopping swings might be a thing of the past.
So while Bitcoin is chilling out, Ethereum is a whole other story. Its amazing summer rally has just stopped dead in its tracks. It got so close to that $4,900 mark, and then, poof, it lost a ton of ground. So what happened? What killed the momentum?
The answer, my friends, is all about ETFs, exchange-traded funds. That huge summer rally, it was basically fueled by a fire hose of cash pouring into Ethereum ETFs. But, as you can see right here, that fire hose isn't just off. The water is now flowing the other way.
And it's the size of this reversal that's really got people spooked. Get this, last Friday, in a single day, $447 million was pulled out of these ETFs. Just gone. That one day wiped out weeks of inflows. You just can't have that much selling pressure without the price taking a major hit.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Forget individual assets for a second, because honestly, the biggest thing on everyone's radar for the entire market is what the U.S. Federal Reserve is about to do with interest rates. And the stage is literally being set as we speak. This week, we're getting the big inflation numbers, the PPI and CPI reports. These are the last big puzzle pieces the Fed gets to look at before they sit down for that huge meeting on September 17th.
Right now, the market is pretty much priced in a standard quarter-point cut. No big deal. But here's where it gets interesting. Last week's jobs report was, well, it was weak. And because of that, there's suddenly a real possibility of a much bigger half-point cut. If that happens, whoa, that would be a huge shot in the arm for risk assets like stocks and crypto.
But hey, it's not all about the Fed and macro stuff, right? Especially in crypto. The crypto market always has its own drama, its own internal storyline, and right now, it is a doozy. It's creating both massive potential upsides and, you guessed it, a ton of uncertainty.
So on the good news front, the whole regulatory scene in the U.S. is starting to look a lot better. The SEC is easing up, and this is the big one. U.S. pension funds can now officially get into crypto. To put that in perspective, if they just move 1% of their assets in, we're talking about a potential $90 billion wave of new money. That is a game changer.
But on the flip side, we have this absolutely wild scandal brewing that's creating major problems. It's all centered around Tron's founder, Justin Sun, and a new token tied to the Trump family. The allegation is that his exchange got people to deposit this token, promising great returns, and then he just dumped their tokens on the market while shorting it.
And the response was just as crazy. The Trump family allegedly froze almost $3 billion of his assets. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And that kind of chaos, that's exactly the kind of uncertainty that scares investors away.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got a stock market that's out of gas, a crypto market telling two different stories, a huge Fed decision right around the corner, and a political crypto scandal for the ages. So, what does it all mean for you? Let's break it down.
What we're looking at is a classic tug of war. In the bearish corner, you have history telling us September is bad, and you have real money flowing out of key assets like Ethereum. But in the bullish corner, you've got the huge potential for a big Fed rate cut and this much better long-term regulatory outlook for crypto in the States.
So really, it all boils down to one simple question. Is a big dose of cheap money from the Fed going to be enough to conquer all these correction fears and the drama from the crypto world? That right there is the billion-dollar question that's going to decide where we go from here.
And that's where we'll leave it for this update. You've got fear on one side, policy on the other, and it is all coming to a head. The winner is going to dictate the market's next big move. Thanks so much for joining us, and hey, make sure you subscribe so you can stay ahead of whatever comes next.